Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the My Game Guys Board Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
Joining us for this episode is Andrew, the hater himself, still in the studio.
Ready to hate.
Indeed.
I'm sure you are.
Ready to correct.
This week, for our Friday review episode,
It's actually a review.
It's actually a review. It's actually 3 reviews crammed into one episode.
You gotta make up so it averages 1 review a week.
Exactly. That's the whole goal. But we are going to be doing a compare and contrast of roll and writes this week. We've picked 3 roll and writes that we've been playing.
That were all released this year.
And somewhat coincidentally, that was not what we set out to do, but they were all released this year. So very timely episode of 3 new roll and writes.
Modern roll and writes.
Modern roll and writes.
And one not so modern one.
That we will
We'll
briefly
mention that.
reference.
Yeah.
mention.
We got Jeff to play Yahtzee. That's
Yes, Jeff had never played Yahtzee.
I've
So,
also
Definitely not correctly.
I've also played Catan the dice game, which is a roll and write.
yeah.
I hadn't even heard of that one.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going to be talking about the German game.
Ganz, Schon, clever.
Thank you. Roll to the top and welcome to, which they call a
Flip and fill.
yes.
Yes.
There was something that somebody else had come up with. No, because they don't call it a flip and fill. They call it something different. But somebody pointed out that flip and fill would be better. But I can't remember what they called it.
It's
Now
a
we may
roll
never
and
know.
write without dice.
Yeah.
Just
So we are going to start this review off here with the German game. One more time, Andrew.
Ganz, Schon, clever.
Ganz Schon clever.
which is German for pretty clever.
Which is German for
FYI.
pretty clever. Yes.
Which will come relevant when I read my rules.
So, Ganz Schon Clever is a 2018 game from designer Wolfgang Warsch. Artist is Leon Schiffer, as if there's art in this game.
I mean, there's the design.
There's design.
They're
You can s-
foxes.
Yes.
You can say designed by him.
And it is published by Schmidt-Spiel in Germany, going to be published by Stronghold Games here in the United States.
Yep.
It plays 1 to 4 players, takes 30 minutes. Zach, do you have a rules rundown for us?
Yes, I do. And pretty clever. You are trying to get the most points. On your turn, you will roll 6 colored dice and choose 1 to mark off in your colored area. Then you're going to place any dice that are lower than your choice into the center. After your turn, your opponents can use any of these center dice, any one of these center dice. Certain spots will give you bonus actions, including extra rerolls, extra dice, or marks in specific other colored areas. Any foxes you earned will give you points at the end of the game equal to your lowest scoring area. But then after all of the rounds, whoever has the most points wins.
Yes, that is a very quick overview that if you don't know how to play, I don't know will help you play.
Oh, no. I mean,
this game is weird.
well, the problem is like, if I show you the board too, you're just gonna be like, it's a whole, like, this is all hieroglyphs. It's just, none of this makes any sense.
Yes. It might be rivaling Roll for the Race to the Galaxy in like iconography that you don't understand until you do, and when you do, it makes sense.
But it is also an extremely clever, or like extremely simple game.
Uh-huh.
It's just
Yes.
Yeah.
obfuscated.
Yes.
Yes.
But at least it's all out there in the beginning instead of
Right.
race where you're just like, I got a card. I have no idea what this card
Oh,
says.
no.
But anyway, let's get into our initial thoughts here of Clever. Zach, what were your thoughts going into this game since you were the one who brought it to the group?
Right? Yeah. So
Brought it.
Yeah.
In
Yeah,
quotation marks.
I mean,
Brought it to the group.
I brought it all right.
Yeah.
So I'd heard a lot of hullabaloo.
Yes, much hullabaloo.
You know, once it got the Kenner Spiel, people were like, oh, Roll and Write got this. You know, that's fairly rare. Not to say it hasn't happened, but a lot of people were like, oh yeah, this is like the Roll and Write, or like the, you know, some, like just sort of an evolution of a lot of previous ones. And so I was excited to play it. And then I saw, I want to say Eric from What's Eric Playing. He just posted a picture on Twitter that was the app, you know, of him playing the app. And I was like, oh shit, there's an app of this.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then, so I downloaded it and it was only in German. And so I had to learn the game via context. So it was rough at the beginning.
Learning a game by context.
Yeah.
Scores of 35.
It wasn't that bad, but it was always, the foxes, I was always like, how the fuck are foxes scoring? they're worth 20 points and they're worth 10, then they're nothing. What is going on? But I like the app enough that I printed it out because they have the file on BGG and it's like you just need dice and the file. So I printed it out, got it laminated, and I brought it to everybody because I want to see what it's like to play it with people, not just the app, because the app, it goes super quick. And so I was curious to see how to see people make or influence their decisions, like how you're always gonna fucking see that orange one, always and forever.
Right on. Andrew, how about you? What were your initial thoughts going into the game?
My initial thoughts were that Zach had a new quick game that I had not played before.
Have you? Oh, you said you did play once or a couple roll and writes before this.
Yeah. I have played the Catan the Dice game, which I did not like at all. At the time, I said that it was the worst game I had ever played.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I don't know if it would still hold that, but I'm not going to try playing it again to find out. But my major complaint with it at the time, with Catan the Dice game at the time, was that it was solitaire, like multi-person solitaire, more than any other game I'd ever played at that point. And this was like 2-3 years ago, something like that. And so, that was the only other roll and write besides Yahtzee that I'd ever played. And so I was certainly not like prejudiced against the whole genre, but it was a new, interesting game that Zach had brought, and I'm like, yeah, it's quick. Happy to learn a new game. Didn't have much thoughts beyond that.
Right on. For myself, we talked about it a fair amount on the show, since it was nominated for Spiel, and then it won Spiel. And I know that several people over in Punchboard Media Slack have been raving about it for a long time. On Twitter, people have been raving about it and playing it a whole lot, both on the app and in person, and talking about what a great game it was. So when Zach made his copy and brought it over to play, I was interested. I played a few roll and writes, I guess, technically. Like, I've, of course, played Yahtzee way back when I was, like, tiny. Don't hardly remember the rules to Yahtzee, let alone anything for that to be in my mind. I'd also played some other roll and writes, like Roll Through the Ages and things like that I actually did really enjoy. But going into Clever, most recently I'd been playing Welcome To, which, although not quite a roll and write, as we'll discuss a little bit later, it got me more interested in that kind of genre, that kind of style of game.
It's based on that.
Yeah.
It's in that genre.
Yeah. So I was optimistic. I'd heard enough good things, and at this point I'd known it won Kenner, so I was hoping for a really good game. So, Jeff, what about you? What were your initial thoughts going in?
I had only played Welcome To, and
that was your first roll and write.
That was my first roll and write. And then I was going to play a second roll and write that was different.
Yep.
And that's all I knew.
Right on. Let's talk about components.
Mm-hmm.
It is some dice, and the game itself is a sheet of paper,
yes.
like a pad of paper.
A pad of paper. So I just want to, like I said, I just made my own copy because it's not out in the U.S. yet.
In English.
And in English, although you don't need it to be in English. Because it's just all numbers.
Language independent.
Exactly.
I will say that your copy of it was missing the small metal tray.
It's true. It was. Because in the box, it comes with a little cardboard insert part that has a picture of a silver platter, because you're offering it up on a silver platter to your opponents.
Yes, the dice you don't want.
Yeah. And so when I was building this game, when I was printing it out, I went to 3 different thrift stores to look for a small silver type platter to offer it up, and I couldn't find anything. And I was like, damn it. And so I just have
should have gone to a bath store.
Yeah.
I'm sure there would have been a tiny soap dish.
Just disappointing.
Or like even like a hobby store for like a miniature, like little diorama or something. I bet they have. Like Michael's.
Well, I didn't want to pay actual money for it.
Like,
I want to pay thrift store money for it.
Fair enough.
And you found 6 different colored die.
I did.
They're not all exactly the same style. Like, some of them are like the really sharp corners, some of them are really rounded corners, some are slightly
But the
bigger.
colors match.
Yeah, the colors
match.
Exactly.
You did a good job finding matching colors.
Mm-hmm.
And then you had Paul. You were going to have Paul laminate you some, but he was like, "Oh no, like it's just paper." Like, no,
well, no, it's because I was like, I need to print it too, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know about that now," because I had to print fucking 2 pages.
So then you just went to like Kinko's or whatever.
I went to UPS store.
UPS
or
store.
FedEx office, whatever. Fucking.
We're all the same.
One of those print and do things.
Laminated myself, and I have dry erase markers. So.
Yeah.
So those are the components we've played with.
Mhm.
We've not actually really seen the physical
actual
version,
game.
especially because it's not really available here in the States.
Mhm. But it's not too different than that.
No.
So
Pad of
Mhm.
score sheets.
yeah.
With the back having an actual place to write your scores, correct? You
Yes.
said?
Yeah.
And then the dice and then the little silver platter. So
We just
not
used
a
the
lot of
container
components.
that you transported the dice in.
Yes, pretty much.
Rules and rules explanation.
I mean, we didn't talk about the design of it. The art.
Oh, the actual.
Art and graphic design.
Yes.
Okay, that's part of components. You're
Yes,
right.
it is. Just the fact that, like we were saying earlier, like when you know the game, it's all clearly laid out. But when you don't know the game, you're just like, this is a whole bunch of shit.
Like, I don't know what any of this means.
Yes.
It is interesting how much, like, the first time you busted out, it was like, man, I do not know what is happening here. But then once you've explained it, it does make a lot of sense of, like,
There-
the yellow sections where you when you pick a yellow die, you
Mhm.
write it in the yellow section.
Yep.
If you pick a blue die, you add it to the white die and then add it
Which
right in the
it
blue
does.
section.
It does show on here. Yeah.
And then the green and the orange and the purple all get written in their sections.
Yeah. I would say the only thing is it doesn't show on on the pad itself that you use the numbers of the purple and the orange to count up for
Score.
score, but it's the only ones you actually write the numbers in. So everything else is just X's for marking
Yeah.
it.
But it doesn't also show in them that those are ones you write the number in.
Yes.
Like the design of the sheet itself is not. You're not going to learn just from having the
Right.
dice and the sheet.
Yeah.
It is
you
very
need.
functional for the game, but it is
Mhm.
not very functional for teaching. the
Yes.
game.
You
Yeah.
need somebody to actually teach you what to do or how to play.
hmm
Yeah, there are 70 some boxes on this little sheet that you have to figure out, when do I use what boxes and
And how.
how.
Yeah. So you need rules or an experienced teacher to learn
Mm-hmm.
this game. You're not going to just get the pad and some dice and go for it. Yeah, I guess you can apparently, as Zach learned, get the app and just struggle through.
Yeah.
By osmosis.
Well, because on the app, it just tells you which things, like you choose a die, it'll just show which ones, what spots it can go into. And you're like, oh, okay. And then you'll slowly learn, except for the fox, that unless you are really paying attention to it, you'd be like, I don't get it. So yeah, it shows that you get foxes, but it doesn't tell you on the pad what the foxes mean. So
What
yeah.
the fox?
No, I'm not saying it. Nope. Nope.
If it wasn't clear at the beginning, the foxes, there are options for the foxes in each of the 5 different colors. If you manage to get the fox in that color, it will be multiplied by like the number of foxes you get times the lowest score in the 5 colors.
Yes.
So
Yeah, which we can talk more about those
Right.
kinds of things when we get to
Exactly.
the rules
Sorry.
section.
Which is now.
Andrew,
you did the
jeez.
rules overview already. Is that not the
almost-
rules?
No.
Oh my god.
There's two.
You have
distinct-
2 rule sections.
We have a
rules.
brief gameplay overview that we call a rules run through,
hmm
and then we have our actual.
As in, like,
rules
you're running
review.
through them. You're like, I can't read any of this because I'm just going so
It's
fast.
so much German.
There are foxes chasing me. I don't understand.
But now we are talking about the rules and rules explanation. We can actually really move into this, which is where we bring up, you can bring up that, yes, the foxes per the rules count for whatever your lowest score is,
Mhm.
which I think you mentioned in the overview as well. But that's not something you're going to, there's no indication of that anywhere on the player sheet. Before we get too much into this, let's start actually at the beginning. Zach, did you really only learn this through the app?
Yes.
Or did you actually ever get the rules and learn?
Oh, I looked through after I was like, I'm pretty sure I know how everything works except the foxes. I don't know what those mean. I'm gonna look up the rules.
Okay.
But everything else was through the app, and because the app was only German at that time.
Yes.
So
It is now in English as well.
yes,
Correct.
Don't be afraid.
yeah,
So I wish we could have gotten our hands on a physical copy of this
Mhm.
game so we could have really seen the English rule book and like kind of been able to better review whether the rules are well written and the rules teach you the game very well. Do you remember, Zach, from looking through the rules after you'd already kind of learned it? Did they seem to be coherent and explain it well?
I want to say yes, but like I said, I was really just looking for whatever the fox was.
Okay.
But I mean, the app at least it gives you a good. It teaches you the game pretty easily. So I'd assume that if the rule book is like the app, I think it did the app like now the app does a good job.
Okay.
So I would assume that they're following the same instructions that they have on here. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, Jeff, and myself then learning the game with somebody who knew how to play it and could teach you what to do. Did you feel like it was very complicated once it was explained to you? Was there any tricky things that you didn't quite get from the teach?
No, I think the rules themselves, simple, strategy is a different thing, but the rules
Yeah.
themselves, I thought, were pretty basic.
It's just like matching. This is like just explaining how the game works. I think is
Right.
the main hurdle. It's
Yeah.
just all right. This is what this does here. You just have to explain that, and then most people I think are good to go. I would say the only thing is I felt like some people kept getting like the purple wrong a little bit.
Yes. And I know for me, one of the things that I messed up my first play is I got that orange and purple, you started left and moved right.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, green, I thought you just filled in the different spots. So like, oh, this is a green 6. I'll put it in the greater than 5. Oh, there's a green 2. Well, I'll clearly want to put that down by like the, like.
It clearly has an arrow.
I know it does, and I don't know how I missed that. I don't know. Yeah, that's just a weird thing that I did. The +1 die section,
Mhm.
like you get to use that to use an extra die. It's not like you
Mhm.
add another die to
Yeah.
the pool or do
Yes,
any weird things like that.
and it's just you use those at the end of the round.
Yeah.
So.
After you've done everything
Yeah.
else,
And you can chain bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
which is a key part of the game, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd say like the only real difference if you're playing between 2 and 4 people is just the amount of rounds you play.
But that's actually one of the things that's very clearly shown on the sheets.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's shown
Yep.
on there. Well, it doesn't really show 4-player, but
It's only 4 rounds.
it's only 4 rounds.
Just differentiates 1, 2, or 3.
Exactly. But yeah, rules wise, those work this like 2 to 4 works the exact same. It's just how
How many rounds?
how many rounds it are. Yeah, it is. So
The one interesting thing, the app only plays 2-player, right?
solo.
Solo, right.
Yes.
You can't fake 4-player or
No.
3-player on the app, which the only time I've played it more than 2-player then is doing it in person with you that
Mhm.
one game night. So like I would have liked a little bit more of like how does it play with 3 players and 4 players now that I am more familiar with the game from playing
Right.
the app.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
whereas I'm on the opposite end of that spectrum, I've only played it with 3 or 4. I wanted to try and get a 2-player game with Megan in today, but we didn't have time. And then I could not get the app to work on my phone. Apparently, my phone is a Galaxy S5 that's like 4 years old is too old for
It's
this simple roll and write app.
but it's
the
4
dice
it's,
rolling animations.
Yeah, it's 4 years for phones. That's like that's a lot.
Yeah, but this is also one of the cheapest apps I've ever seen. So
Yeah,
You're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
I'm just-
play Fortnite on my phone.
It's
All right.
why not?
Have you tried?
So
Fortnite?
many reasons.
Yeah, so many.
So many reasons. Anyway, not relevant. Moving on. We've talked about components. We've talked about rules. Let's talk about gameplay.
Yeah.
And so, Zach, you've played this game like
A lot.
hundreds of times.
I mean, I've played it a lot on the app and then a handful of times with actual people too. Yes.
Okay. Andrew, as you were talking about, you've only played the one time with people.
Right.
Almost
2
all of your
games,
plays have been
but
on
yeah.
the app.
Yep.
Jeff, where are you on that? You've played the app a few times. You've
Yes.
played in person a few times.
Yes.
Kind of an even mix. I have played in person
Mhm.
only. I've not played on the app. So we have a nice spread, at least, over the different experiences, even if we don't all have a great
Mm-hmm.
coverage of them.
Individually.
Yes. So those of you who have played the app, let's start there. Let's just get that out of the way.
It's also
Because it's just so low.
Yep.
It plays a little bit different, I understand,
Yeah.
in that you choose your 3 dice, but then you like get to choose one more.
No, so what it is that after you choose your 3 dice, then you have a chance to do an 8+1 dice if you want, and then it takes all 6 of those dice, rolls them, and then gives you the bottom 3 on the silver platter.
Okay.
So basically, it's simulating
4 actions around.
Yeah, it's 4 actions. It's simulating that another person. It's basically simulating a 2-player game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it always the bottom 3?
It's
Yes.
always the bottom 3.
Okay, so there's never a point
No.
where okay.
But if you can't use any of those ones on the silver platter, then you get the other dice.
Right, you
And
get
you
the
get the-
option, which is also true in the main game.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
you get the same +1 and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Okay.
It goes a lot quicker though.
Yes.
Sure does.
It's so quick on the app because you don't have to wait for anybody else to make any fucking
Decisions or anything.
Yeah.
5 to 10 minutes.
Not even.
Yeah, I would say 5 minutes
Max.
max. Yeah.
A minute per round.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, other than that little thing with
Uh huh.
the rolling
Yeah.
for you, the game itself plays exactly
Yes,
the
it
same.
does. Yep.
Yep.
So there's no difference there.
No.
So let's talk about playing in person.
Okay.
then.
So you can actually talk. Okay.
Yes, so I can actually talk. So I can
Length
actually participate.
increases dramatically.
Yes,
Mhm.
and sometimes uncomfortably long. especially with more players. Like
Yeah.
playing a full 4-player game.
You would think the shrinking of the rounds would help more than it does.
Yeah.
But I still felt like the 3-player game was a lot shorter than the 4-player, even though you're doing 5 rounds versus 4 rounds.
But I mean, in a 4-player game over 4 rounds, there's 16 times of rolling
Right.
the dice. In a 2-player game of 6 rounds, there's only 12.
Right.
So there's more times of rolling the dice, more decision points.
Well, yeah, but in 3
3
players
times 5,
is
it's 15,
so it's only one more. Yeah,
But it just feels
it feels a lot shorter, even because of that.
Yeah. So I guess for gameplay,
You seem to be really struggling.
well, I don't know how to really talk about this game from a gameplay perspective. Like,
Because you roll dice, and then you choose
Yeah,
one,
so
and
you-
then you roll them again, and then you choose one.
Uh-huh.
yeah,
and you try and string some things together.
But you want
But-
to try and make them all as good as all of the other ones, but as efficiently as possible.
right. And so exactly like this,
All right.
it's impossible to actually
All right, okay.
do this.
So one of the big things in this game is the fact whatever die you choose, the ones underneath it go to the silver platter.
Yeah. So
And so
Yes.
In
you
the
choose a
first
3,
two rolls.
and
in
there's
the
2.
first 2 rolls. So you
Yeah.
have decisions to make on if you like if you have a die that you really need. You're like, I need this purple 6 and like or else I'm fucked. And then do you have to weighing that versus taking maybe some suboptimal rolls of something else or suboptimal numbers of other colors to be able to keep rolling to take that one choice versus taking 3 ones that maybe you don't need as much and sort of
Yeah.
hoping that you're going to get you're just going to hope that you also get that purple 6 at the end.
because if that happens, like say on your first roll,
Yeah.
if you take that 6 and there's no other 6s, then all the dice just go on the silver platter. Your opponents have 5 dice to choose from. You only get 1 dice
Yeah.
that turn. That's rough.
Yes, it is.
That's gonna hurt.
Yes.
Not
you know,
recommended.
If
Not
that
recommend-
happens, on your second roll,
Uh-huh.
then that might be like, oh, I got 1 good roll. Now I can do this. I'm only missing out on 1.
Especially if you're
Yeah.
like, if this is going to chain into 4 things,
It might be worth it.
it might be worth it.
Yeah.
Because you only get to control what dice you only get to control what dice you're taking on your turn. Everything else is literally just the scraps.
Yes.
Unless the scraps are so bad that then you can go into their dice.
Yes.
Which has
Um,
happened.
Yes.
Which does happen, especially
it's
late game when you
rare.
fill things
Uh-huh.
in a bit. And
I've seen it once in the physical game, and I think maybe only once in the solo game.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you keep doing that. Everybody
Mhm.
rolls, takes whatever dice they want, makes those decisions, and then everybody else also has that decision of like which one of
Yep.
the 3 scraps,
Yeah.
3, 4, maybe 5 scraps,
Right.
do I want to take? Which sometimes you don't have a choice,
Yeah.
and sometimes that really sucks because the
Yeah.
only dice that you can use is a orange 1.
Yeah. So
and you happen to be at the orange multiplier level where your orange die is doubled and you put a 1 there and you get 2 points. Where if you'd put a 6 there, you get 12 points. And sometimes that happens twice in one game.
I forced him into that twice in one game. It was
Yeah,
great.
And sometimes it's the same player.
Yeah.
It's just a real dick.
Yeah. So that's one nice thing about the orange die is that the orange row has no restrictions on what number you take. It is always just a catch-all. So if you ever are like, oh, I've got an orange 1 here, you pick something higher than that, you throw it in that trash heap. They have to take it if they can't take anything else.
Have we mentioned that the white die is wild?
Oh yeah. So the white die is wild, and it also plays into the
Blue power.
the blue one. But it's really nice to just be like, if anything else, I'll take the white die. Clear everything out except for the white die, and then you roll it, and you'll probably get something out of it.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of room with some of those decisions about what you take and what you
Oh, yeah.
leave to affect other players. So it's not like a multiplayer solitaire.
No, it's definitely
there is a little bit of interaction.
there is interaction there, like especially forcing you to take a die.
Yeah.
And
Which I mean, I don't know like how much that was like part of a plan of yours. Like, oh, I'm gonna really force Adrian.
Oh, no,
but,
once I-
it just worked out great that this happened.
no, once I remembered that if the orange is in there, they have to take it no matter what. Anytime I saw an orange 1, I'm just like, I'm throwing that in there so they can't have any of these good dice that I'm doing.
Which
dealing
that can be a strategy,
Yes.
but like not necessarily like, oh, I'm also gonna make sure that these other 2 dice he can't use,
Oh.
so he has to take the
No,
orange one.
not necessarily.
It's not
yeah.
that in depth.
It's not that in depth. It's really hard to try and plan for that. But later in the game, you'll be like, oh, because people tend to take a lot of the blues. That it's like, oh, if you throw a blue in there, it might be harder for them. So there are some considerations, but it's not like I'm gonna throw this blue 1 in there because nobody else can take it. I'm never looking at anybody's sheet hard enough to be like, oh, you need a 3, Jeff needs a 5, and Adrian needs a 12. I'm not trying to like, oh, so let me try and plan against that. But if I'm seeing that Jeff there's a white 6 there, and it matches up to where I can get an 8 on my turn, from when it's his active turn to me get that 8 to get me an 87-point swing. I'm going to do my damnedest to convince him that that's his best move, especially when it is also your best move.
Yeah.
AKA the classic Zach.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Do this
listen to
thing. It's the
Zach.
best thing for you. It's also better for me.
Yeah.
Never.
It
listen to Zach.
literally let me get a blue that comboed into a yellow that comboed into a green that it basically, like I said, it got me 87 points from
Crazy.
that one thing. It was glorious.
Yeah. 87 points. Your high score is 290. So
Yeah.
Just to give context for what 87
Exactly.
points is.
And that's on the app where you have a
Right.
lot more control. It is harder to get a better score with
Yes.
players because when you do the solo mode, the random rolls, it's like, oh, sometimes they'll just be all 5s and 6s, and you're like, sweet. But here, you're not going to see that. It's going to be pretty shitty most of the time.
Yeah.
So then what I noticed too is like you don't really want to take those low numbers on your turn
Right.
because there's going to be low numbers abound on everybody else's turn.
And more of the dice that you were putting onto your sheet are the leftovers of other people rather than your own choices.
Exactly. Yeah.
Especially when you move into like a 4-player
Yeah.
game.
Exactly. Yeah.
So there is definitely some room for some strategy. I think it's definitely more geared towards tactics.
Yes. Which is my wheelhouse.
Which is why Zach is so much better at me than this game.
Except that last one where you were basically like, I need this. You had a yellow left, and you're like, I need a 2 or a 5, and you rolled a 5, and then
And it chained perfectly.
chained perfectly. Yeah. So I think for me, that's like the best. Like that's what this game is setting things up to chain things amazingly.
Yes.
So where you're like, because most of the time you're like, oh, I got a 6, but it's those moments when you're like, all right, I got the 6 that let me use this blue that marked here that got me this green and this orange that let me get a yellow. Like you can do crazy shit, and it just feels so satisfying to be like, one die got me 7 marks.
And I think that's where the name of the game comes
Exactly,
from.
yeah.
Yeah. It's so clever. Like,
Yes.
Unfortunately for me, most of this game, I do not feel clever. I spent most of this game looking over at Zach and going like, how do you have all 5 of them filled? I only have green filled. I have 2 yellows and a blue. What the fuck?
But unlike a lot of other roll and writes, this one is not like we could all be having the high score if we made the right moves.
Right.
This one is very individual
Yes.
in what you do.
Yeah.
So this makes this one very different from the other.
It is
we will be
also
talking
much
about.
more susceptible to
Downtime.
Well, downtime, and I was going to say luck of the die.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah.
You aren't sharing the die.
No, yeah, because I would say my high scores on the app, anywhere from 270 to 290, have just been, most of it would be like depending on what rolls I got for the orange and the purple. Because there's one time where I had like 8 purple 6s on there from various things.
Yeah.
And I was like, that worked out well. Other times it's just like you're getting garbage for those couple rolls, and you're like, there's only so much you can do.
Yes. But there is, like you said, Zach, downtime.
Yes.
Because there is more of like, I'm rolling. I've got my 6 die.
Mhm.
Which one do I want to take? Okay, I'm going to take this one.
Yeah.
That means this one goes to the center, and then I reroll these 4. All right, which one am I going to take? Which one am I going to take?
Yeah.
I'll take this one.
Mhm.
This one goes to the center. I reroll these 2.
Yeah.
Now, which one do I take? I'll take this one. That one goes to the center. And then it's like, and then everybody else is like, okay, now we know what 3 we can use. How can we use these?
Mhm. Oh,
and then you kind of deliberate about it, and then it's like, okay, we're all done. Okay, we're all good. Take all 6 dice, pass to the next player, repeat.
Which, if you're not used to in roll and writes, because like a lot of them are a common dice pool that everybody gets the same thing.
Or you like roll a common dice pool, and then you take turns taking things
Yes,
out. Like
also-
I
yes.
played a few that are like
Yeah.
that, like harvest dice.
Yeah.
You roll a bunch. It's like, okay, I'm going to take the 6,
Yeah.
and then they're like, oh, I'm going to take this 5.
Yeah. No, it's just that there's either everybody's making the same decisions together, or, the same level of hard thinking or whatever together, or it's a lot simpler, like that. Lagrange, No Siesta did that as well. And I feel like, I don't know, I've played like 1 or 2 others that did that too. But whereas like Yahtzee, you're rolling on your own turn, but it's really like, you're like, oh, well, I'm going to go for this. Roll. Okay, well, I'm going to go for this instead. Roll. Okay, I marked that off. Your turn. So even though you're rolling on your turn, you don't have a high level decision making, so it goes fairly quickly.
Yeah, because you're not worried. You know what you're trying to go for, but it's just hoping for the best.
Yes.
And you're not really trying to screw other people with what you're leaving behind. So there's the decision making is way lower in a game like that.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the more complex roll and writes, which you can see because it's actually 1.98 out of 5.
It's almost at medium light.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's about covers gameplay. There's really not a lot else to talk about there, at least at this point. Jeff, what are your final thoughts on Clever?
I like it. I like the app. I like the solo. I've been playing it a lot. I like the game in multiplayer, but there is a bit of downtime. It is definitely the meatiest of these. It's just on the cusp of medium light. And that is my brief thoughts.
For myself, I do not care for Clever. It's okay, I guess. I would be interested in playing the app to see if that's better, especially since it plays so short. But I have no real desire to play this, especially at like 3 and 4 players at a table. It's too much subjective to random dice tosses and downtime that it gets boring for me. I have a real hard time staying focused when it's not my turn, which then bites me in the ass because they pass the dice to Jeff and he rolls and I go, oh shit, I never took the offerings from Paul. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not my jam. It's too much random and too much downtime for what I want in this type of game. Zach?
I'm a big fan of it. Just like Jeff, I like the app. I like how quick that goes. I like playing with multiplayer. There is downtime, which, as we were saying, is just because it's so involved for a roll and write. It's going to have the downtime because you're using your own dice versus everybody using the same dice. And it is subject to random dice. And so that doesn't bother me, which should not be a surprise to anybody.
Correct.
But I can totally understand people that are like, I don't like that part. But I do like the decisions you have to make in this game. And when it goes well, I feel like the game was built to do these combos. And when you do those combos, it feels great.
What about you, Andrew?
So I enjoyed the couple times we played it in person, although I do agree with the downtime. That's definitely a real problem, especially because the downtime is just active enough that you can't step away. If you step away, you pause the entire game for everybody while they wait for you to choose your die of the leavings. But I enjoyed it, and so I downloaded the app, and in a week or 2 weeks, I probably played it between 100 and 200 times. It's super, it's popcorn. But, it felt like a puzzle that I should be able to solve, but I was never able to solve it because of the dice. The dice were getting in the way of me solving it in the way that I wanted to.
That's understandable.
And so that combined with the complete and utter lack of theme, or I got, after playing it 200 times in 2 weeks, I got bored of it and deleted the app.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
It's even patchwork for me. Once I played the app, hundreds of times, it's
millions.
I can only play that for so long.
Yeah.
So I get that. Yeah. It's just they throw you a bunch of puzzle pieces, and you're like, these don't even go to. These are. This is a dog, and this is a 17th century impressionist picture. It's it doesn't go together.
Impressionists were 19th century. Damn it!
I know, that's why this really didn't go together.
Yeah, it was a 17th century impressionist.
Right on. Well, I think that kind of wraps up Clever. In case you haven't noticed, I've given up on trying to actually pronounce it. But that wraps up Clever.
Very, very clever.
Pretty clever.
Pretty clever.
I think the Ganz, Schon is very beautiful. So it's beautifully clever.
Yeah.
Very beautifully clever is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roughly.
I'm just going to call it Clever.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to default to. So now we get to move along to Roll to the Top. This is a 2018 release from designer Peter Joustra and Corne van Moorsel. Artist is Steven 2, published by Suwali Games. It plays 2 to 5 players, takes 15 to 25 minutes. Zach, do you have a brief rules rundown?
Yes, I do. In Roll for the Top, you're racing to fill up your sheet first. Each turn, different sized dice are rolled, and the results can be written down from the bottom to the top of your sheet, individually or as a sum of multiple dice, and each number has to be higher than or equal to the number that it is above. You are also going to be rolling a white die that can add, remove, or replace dice, and whoever finishes their sheet first wins.
That's roll to the top.
Yeah, it's the problem with a lot of these ones is you're just like, I mean, I can sort of do a brief thing, but you're like, unless you know, like, unless you see it, you're like, that okay, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
Imagine Breakout.
Let's start off where we always do with initial thoughts. This time, let's start with you, Andrew. What were your initial thoughts going into roll to the top?
Actually, I guess I lied in the last one in that I had just played Roll to the Top when we went to Ganz, Schon, Clever.
It was the same time.
It was the same evening. Yeah. So yeah, I was like, new quick game. Let's play. You know, this. I gotta say, you just said that there was an artist on this. That surprises me, but.
Are you sure it's not a photographer?
Right. Fair.
Yeah.
There are some Kickstarter exclusive things that do involve more custom stuff.
Okay. That looks slightly more interesting.
I want to try that one out.
Yeah,
That's
that
cool.
would.
Which one is it?
Wooden house.
It's a house.
Oh.
Yes.
But also the one behind it that is a map of Africa, it looks like.
Paul had mentioned there's a map of Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is backer exclusive.
Gotcha.
Well, screw that then. All of the interesting parts of the game then. No, so...
Well,
Content locked.
Yeah. Sorry. That's getting ahead of myself. No, it was just a simple, quick game at the beginning of game night. Like, yeah, sure, let me, learn this 5-minute, 15-minute game, whatever.
right on. Jeff, how about you?
I had just played Pretty Clever, and then we were going to play this game.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it where Paul. I hadn't seen that Paul had brought it to game night or anything before, so this was my first introduction to this game. Almost period.
Okay. Zach, what about you?
At that game night with Andrew, Paul was like, I got this new rolling right. And I was like, cool.
Yeah, because I feel like we're talking about the Rack House game night, right? Because we all played it together. Yep. So that's where I was. And it was like, all right, another. We're talking about doing a roll and write episode.
Yes.
So here's a new roll and write.
Yeah, exactly.
I had never heard of it, and so that tempers my expectations. And I was like, oh, I've never heard of this game.
Right.
And then something about the photorealisticness of the things, like I was like, oh, this game is like 10 years old.
Right.
Yes, I thought it was old too until I was like, I was even getting ready to be like, oh, it's probably like 2014 or 2018. What?
They ran a Kickstarter in November.
It looks like the sort of thing that came standard on Windows 95.
Okay.
Yes.
To teach you how to use a mouse
exactly.
and scrolling and clicking.
So let's talk about components. The art and graphic design look like something from Windows 95.
Yeah, it's functional.
It is
Yes.
very functional.
Yes.
This one,
Much higher resolution than Windows 95.
That's true.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
this one is also
Yeah, it's
just
not
pads
like
of paper
Container or something like that.
for the base game, right? Pads of paper for the base game,
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everything we keep playing is laminated.
which because Paul is a laminator, I'm pretty sure he took the sheets.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Well,
So-
and then also it just makes it a lot easier for roll and writes because it is no longer a limited supply of games. It's unlimited now.
and you feel less wasteful.
Until the marker like wears through the laminate.
Yeah. That'll be a while.
Exactly.
If ever. I don't think that has ever happened in the history of laminate.
Laminate just hasn't been around long enough.
I'm sure there's some weird. Yeah.
Well, when it started being used by the 17th century impressionists.
Exactly.
But this one is it's a bunch of dice again. In this case, it's a D4, D6, D8, D12, and D20.
And
no
All
D10.
different colors.
All different colors.
And a custom D6.
And then a custom D6 that has 2 pluses, 2 minuses, and a swap.
Yes.
Correct.
And that's that plus minus is a plus or a minus. You get to choose.
Yes. It's a plus / minus
There you go.
on the die.
And the swap is both a plus and a minus.
No.
Yeah.
The swap is arrow and arrow.
Well, yes.
But it's technically
what
you're
you do
adding a
is
die and removing a die.
I see what you're doing.
That was pretty clever.
Fucking with me. That's what you're doing. Fucking with me.
Yes.
And then a bunch of pads of paper for the base boards,
Or
I guess.
sheets.
Yeah.
Sheets.
Which are like the pyramids, a tree, the Matterhorn, the Eiffel Tower, the Burj Khalifa,
and these all look different, not only picture-wise, but how it's actually
the
set up.
layout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Burj Khalifa is just
4 vertical.
4 vertical, and it goes all the way to the top. Where the
But each of the 4 are different
yes, they have different heights. But then the tree
And actually,
has
it's 5.
Oh, it's 5. Okay.
It's 5.
And then the tree has like 4 to start off with, but then it sort of grows out, and so
Yeah, it starts with 4, narrows to 3,
Uh-huh.
and then like kind of grows and branches little holes in it. The
Yeah.
Matterhorn is just fucking weird.
yes,
A
very
pyramid,
randomy.
A pyramid is a pyramid.
yeah. And then the Space Needle is a reverse pyramid.
Yeah, and the
More or
Eiffel
less.
Tower it starts like the Eiffel Tower in the 2
Yeah.
base structures, comes up with a little hole in the middle, and then goes
Yeah.
back to one very narrow like
Mhm.
stretch. All of those will play very differently because of the way you have to keep using numbers that
Mhm.
go above and below.
Yeah.
So it's good that they include a variety of different boards
Yeah,
to play
100%.
with.
Yes.
It would be super boring if it was always the
Yeah.
same board.
Especially the pyramid.
Yeah,
Oh,
and it's
God.
and it's really nice that they let you. Since we're still in rules, right? Or have we even
We're
got
in components.
Components. Okay, all right. Then I will.
You'll
Shut
wait.
the fuck up.
It does come with markers. I think Paul immediately replaced those markers with
his
better
dry,
markers.
Yeah, with his dry erase ones. Yeah.
Wet erase.
Wait, that's what I meant to say. Sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
the dry erase ones I have are shit.
There are a bunch of expansions for components to get more maps and stuff
Okay.
that I know Paul is in the process of tracking them down. / now that he has a
Yeah.
laminator, just printing them and laminating them.
Which I mean, really, anybody could like. You could just make
This
more.
this one like clever,
Mm-hmm.
very clever, pretty clever, very clever.
It is.
whatever.
It is designed to be how it is. You couldn't
Yeah.
like.
Well, so that one and this one are both
Yeah.
easy ones to make copies of yourself.
That's true.
Print them off, laminate them, go buy some dice.
But what I mean also is that like you could just make more maps of this really easily.
Oh,
You
yes.
can do it your own, yeah.
Yeah, you can do your own if
It
you
will-
want to.
Probably be bad, actually.
Yeah.
But you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I mean, I'm curious how much even playtesting or design went in. Like the Matterhorn is so weird that I feel like the Matterhorn was just a weird thing they did.
Maybe, yeah.
Like I really feel like their base design process is take the picture of something and make blocks fit, and then on some of them, like the tree and the Matterhorn,
Just
take out some spaces.
Yeah.
Like the Eiffel Tower, like there's actually air there, so it's like, oh, we can't clearly don't put a space there.
Yeah.
But
Right.
the tree and the Matterhorn, it's just like, nah, no space there. No, and they've got a bunch of other maps, like through that Kickstarter and stuff.
Mhm.
That's it for components. Let's not waste a lot of time on it. Let's get over to rules and rules explanation. None of us here have actually seen the rules, I don't think.
No.
Oh no, that's not true. I did pull them out. It is a trifold sheet. Like it's just like a fold out sheet that's one paper and it's like 4 different languages, I think, on it.
Oh yeah,
On one sheet. Like that's how little the rules are.
yeah. It's very simple to teach
Yeah.
and learn.
Because essentially you roll the weirdest thing is at the start of the game you roll all 5 of the dice and then any of the odds you take out
Unless you roll all odds.
unless you roll all odds.
Yeah,
And then I don't remember. There's no. It doesn't say what
it doesn't
you do.
say, so we just rolled them all.
Yeah.
So it basically gives you sort of a variable start
Yes,
because you
you start with a different amount of dice
Yep.
and then you whatever dice are in the starting pile you roll those with that special d6 of the
Mhm.
plus minus and everything else, and whatever dice the numbers on the dice that you roll, those are the numbers everybody can write.
Yep.
And you can add them together as much as you want.
you can also not use them.
You can
so
also
if
just
it's
pass
the
Yeah.
first, like it's your first one, and it's you're only rolling a d20, you get a 20. You don't have to be like, I have a 20, I'm fucked.
Yeah,
you just be like, no, thank you.
So fucked.
Yeah.
now.
I'm gonna risk it.
Risk it
You
for the
could do
biscuit.
that on the Eiffel Tower.
It's true.
There's a space where it's just one on the base level and
Yeah.
nothing above it.
Yeah.
I think there's places like that in the Matterhorn. Too.
There are,
Like,
and
yeah.
and the trees and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But
But
spa-
not the pyramid.
a pyramid, no, and the Space Needle, no.
Those all propagate very
Yes, they
badly.
do.
Then whatever the white custom die tells you to do, so then the next player, if it's a plus, they add one from the exit pool, from like that side pool.
Yeah.
If it's a minus, they take one out of the rolling pool. If it's plus or minus, they get to choose, and if it's swap, they swap one or the other. If it's ever down to 1 die, you don't have a choice, you always add. If it's all 5 die, you don't have a choice, you always minus.
Yep.
But then you roll again and you keep going.
And when you add or subtract a die, you do get to choose which one you take
Yes.
out or add in. So
Correct.
if you need low numbers, it's like, oh, I need that D4. Or if somebody else needs low numbers, fuck that D4. I'm going to go grab that D20.
Yeah.
And then it rolls a 1, and you're like, God damn it.
Which it did many, many times.
Shocking number of times. But yeah, and then you're filling them in. The trickiest things to think of for rules for filling in things, stuff like the Burj Khalifa, which is straight columns, are easy. Every number has to be equal to or higher than the number below it. That's easy. Just go straight up.
Mm-hmm.
The pyramid, technically, maybe a little trickier because the way they're staggered. So it has to be higher than both of the numbers, equal to or higher than both the numbers below it.
So if you put a 2 and a 5 next to each other, the one on top has to be a 5.
Yeah, the one that straddles both of them has to be a 5 or higher. And then if you ever get to a spot in some of the maps where you don't go vertically anymore, but you can go horizontal, you can go from like a 15 where it dead ends and then the one horizontal. Now that you have that adjacent one filled, you can go back to a 1.
As long as there isn't any numbers that would possibly need to be under it.
Yes. In which case you can't fill it in until those numbers are filled, and then those dictate what
That
it
is
can be.
correct.
That comes into play more in like the tree and the Matterhorn especially. There's a lot of horizontal movement in the Matterhorn.
Yes, there is.
But yeah, it's simple to teach, simple to play. Like there's really nothing complicated. And this is unlike Clever. This is one where everybody has access to the exact same numbers at the exact same times.
Right.
So in theory, whoever wins, if everyone else had done what that person had done, you would all win at the same time.
Yeah, it's a game of efficiency.
Yes. And so the differences come into how you each decide to approach the different things in the game, which
I'm sure is one of Adrian's favorite parts about the game.
but yeah, that's rules and rules explanation. Can you guys think of anything to add to that? Any other weird rules or tricky situations? The maps are what make it interesting.
The maps are the game.
Yeah.
I really want to know, like, the map of Africa is like literally divided into the different countries, it looks like. So how does that
They have special rules written in the bottom that I have not zoomed in to see.
Okay.
And you start weirdly like in the center of Africa and have to build towards the coasts.
Right.
Yeah, the starting player chooses where the starting area is.
Okay. That's and they don't have any like just gaps for like Zimbabwe has been a, failed state for 20 years, so it's just a blank spot on the map. No. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, each area that you fill in must be adjacent to a filled area. The new number must be equal to or higher than each adjacent filled area. So it's actually, that would be
you're not
very
building.
complicated map.
Yeah.
Especially for some of those interior ones. Holy crap.
Seriously.
And they have some other maps that I saw, without scrolling all the way through this whole thing again. They had some other ones that were like that weren't just the blocks. They were different shapes and things. And then Paul said he had seen one that was like a big S curve that like, even when it curved back down, you still had to just keep going higher. What is that, Jeff?
Hadar Center.
Sure. I don't know what that actually is. It's clearly an actual thing that exists because it's another one of their picture ones. Oh, like the house one, or like they have a weird, just abstract painting one that's different piece sizes that you write it in. So all kinds of special challenges, basically.
Yeah.
Let's talk about gameplay. Although I think we've also basically just covered this because this one is, I think, the easiest and simplest of all of these.
It's 100% the easiest one to teach somebody and to play.
Yeah.
But it's also one where knowing when to increase your numbers
and how much
and by how much is a big part of the game.
Yeah.
Like hold on to that one as hard as possible.
Yes. And
although not too long.
Not too
that's
long.
What Paul did in the pyramid game, or not the pyramid,
the Space Needle.
The Space Needle, and it backfired.
Yeah. Knowing when to not take dice, knowing when to try and leave spots so you can always add as many dice as possible.
Maybe just close off your whole tree with 4s.
Yeah. That's a great
solid plan.
Plan. Put halfway through your Space Needle. I'm going to put a 12 or the tree. I'm going to put a 12 right here. That's not going to fuck me up at all. Especially because, like we were saying, it's a D12 and then a D20. So you have to have that. If you're at 12, you have to have that D20 in there and have it roll high in order to not have to sum up other things.
Yes.
So,
which that is one of the nice things is you can add other things to get numbers, but
it feels so bad when you're like, all right, I have to add these things and I can get one number, and then Jeff's like, oh, I got 4 numbers, and you're like, you motherfucker, because it's a race.
It's a race to fill all the gaps.
Yeah, and
if you're only filling in 1 and everyone else is filling in 4,
100% of the time.
Yeah.
And the feeling like towards the end of the game when it's like, okay, I've got 5 spaces. How many do you guys have left? It's like, oh, I've got 3. I've got 2. I've got 1. It's like, what's your guys' lowest number? Oh, I've got a 15. Oh, cool. I don't have to worry about you.
Yeah.
You're fucked.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got a 2. Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's going to hurt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can
When
also
you're getting an end game and people are like, yeah, I can still put in 2s.
Yeah, you're like, oh, I'm fucked. And part of that is that you can put multiple dice at the same time, like in a row, assuming that it all matches. Like the Burj
Yeah.
Khalifa, it's just one giant row in the center, so you could just be like, I'm going to put 5 numbers all there, and each
2, 2, 2, 2.
exactly, yeah,
3, 3, 3.
Or conversely, like in one of the opening rounds for the Burj Khalifa, it was like 4 dice, and it was like 1, 1, 2, 3. And it was like, well, this far column is only 6. So 1, 1, 2, 3. I'm 4 up.
exactly.
And I am only at a 3.
Yeah.
And I got 2 more spaces. Yeah, I'll definitely take that.
Yeah, and then also leaving spaces for like that 1, 1, 2, 3. Put something else there, like another 3, something, and then you have a spot that he could be like any big ass number that I can just put it there and it's fine, because if it reaches to the top of its respective column, then
And nothing overlaps it.
Nothing overlaps
Yeah.
it. Then you don't have to fill it up anymore. You're good there.
Yeah. So that's a key thing on a lot of these maps is looking for like, where does it dead end?
Yeah, where are the dead ends? I need to know those. Please tell me there are more dead ends.
And sometimes you think that you can put a number and it's like, oh, it's 1, 2 to a dead end. And then you look closer and you realize that it's 1, 2 that way, but it also splits and goes 3, 4, 5 the other way. And you put too high of a number.
Yeah, exactly.
You can play it in multiple successions too. Like they do talk about like I think the better way to do it would be to play golf rules where you want low score and to just add 1 for every open spot.
Okay.
They say to do negatives.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier just to add them up.
No, I would agree
I
with
don't
that.
know.
Yeah.
Either way, you count either positive or negative
Yes.
for the open spaces
Uh-huh.
you have left at the end of a round, and then you do another round and you do the same thing and just keep track over 3 or 4 to see who's the best over multiple rounds. And it plays quick enough you could do 2 or 3
Yeah,
rounds.
yeah, definitely.
No
Yeah.
downtime.
It's definitely the.
No downtime.
I feel like it'd be the depending on depending on the map too, because some of them can make it a little bit longer.
Yeah,
Right.
relatively no downtime. Because
Yes.
you're not ever, like, everybody gets to do everything at the same time. So unless 4 of the 5 people are just like lightning fast
Yeah.
and the 5th person is like,
APing.
oh, what do I want to do? In which case, just look at all 4 of the other
Yeah.
boards and get some ideas.
Yeah.
Did we all 4 do the same thing? You should do that thing.
But like halfway through, it's gonna be like you'll find that one person. They're like, "Oh God, do I want to make this jump from 4 to 7?"
Yeah.
How much is this going to hurt?
Exactly.
I really like that in the Space Needle because it was like, I'll do a 1 here and a 1 and a 1. And it's like, oh, if I do a 4, I can just, this whole section is all 4 and higher.
Yep.
Like, it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
But final thoughts for Roll to the Top. Let's start with, who did we start with for the last one? I don't know. Andrew, how about you start?
I was fairly bored by it, I have to say. I didn't think there was much of a theme except for completing buildings.
There is no theme.
There's
Yeah,
no theme.
no theme.
There's like it's just stacking numbers on top of each other and occasionally adding them together to stack numbers a little. Like yeah, you have to like manage that a little bit, but I don't know. It just the sort of puzzle that it provides is not the sort of puzzle that I'm interested in.
Fair enough. Jeff, how about you?
I liked it. It's a fun little number challenge. It is definitely a who cares about anyone else besides the dice selection.
Yeah.
This one is definitely with 6 votes, a 1 out of 5 on the difficulty rating too.
Yeah,
Yes.
the lightest of flimsy weight in this one. You may as well be on the moon.
About as heavy as a sheet of paper?
Yeah.
Yeah. And a marker.
The marker is heavier than this game.
Yes. But it's a fun little quick dice thing. I mean, there is a little bit of strategy where it's like, I don't need your fucking D20 and go fuck yourself, because it is a race. And that's kind of where you get a little bit of the interaction in there. And I do enjoy that.
Yeah. When that one person just has the ones and you're like, fuck the D4 forever.
Yep. Yes.
None of us can use 4 or less. We're getting the D4 out of there.
Yeah,
And
I'm
the
gonna
guy
just-
who can.
just going to chuck that across the room. If you want it, you can go get it.
And then there's, Adrian needs a 15 to, all right, so that D20, that's gone.
Yep. Yes. So there is a fun little bit of interaction there that I enjoyed.
Zach, how about you?
I think for me, this almost feels like more like an activity than like a game.
Fair enough.
But I do enjoy it. It's fun. It doesn't.
Nice grade school activity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you have little bits of interactivity, like we were saying, but for the most part, it's just you're just trying to figure out who can do the best, and it's I don't know. It's just that. It's fine. It's fun. I enjoy, but it'll float over the clouds.
Yeah. Make sure you have like that wrist strap tied to the game, or it might float off into the distance.
I do like that it's a different style of roll and write than like Ganz or Yahtzee. Or like I was playing it. I was like, oh, this one feels different. I like that, but it's paper thin.
Yes. This is an excellent example of a game that is actually light enough and themeless and just like it removes everything that makes me care about a game to the point that I just have fun playing it whether I win or lose.
Yeah.
Like normally I'm really competitive and like I want to win. But even in this game, if I get blown way out, like I have more fun laughing about like okay, how many does everybody have left? 6, 6, 6, 6. Okay, what's everybody's lowest number they can do? 1, 2, 4. Oh, I'm at a 10. I'm fucked. Like it's the right amount of just super lighthearted,
and it goes like you said, it goes quick enough.
It goes so quick, and there's a little bit of interactivity. The whole like Paul, having a bunch of ones, and all three of the rest of us just agreeing mutually without really discussing it that. Fuck the D4. That's just out.
But then
Sorry,
the D20
Paul.
comes out and it rolls a fucking 1. And we're like, are you fucking kidding me?
And Paul's like, huzzah! The ones are still alive. And just hearing somebody over there like, oh, my 2s are dead. Oh, my 4s are dead. Like, yeah, it's silly. It's fun. I enjoy it. I really do.
Many different maps to play on that all play fairly differently.
I do like that. I think that's the best part of the game is that each map feels different.
They do actually feel different. I'm curious, like once you get a whole bunch of them, how different they all feel. But at least the 6 maps that Paul have all felt very different in how you approach them.
Apparently, there is a roll your own. It's like 6 across and 10 high, and you roll a d6 for each row, and then you cross out that number, and then everyone does that same thing, and so you randomize.
Oh, that's cool.
Like really cool.
That's
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So they have a lot of cool ideas that they've done.
And it's easily expandable.
Yes, for sure.
Here's a new picture that we put squares on.
Yeah.
The game. That's really what it should be called.
Yeah.
That Hadar Center one is apparently the airport in Baku, which is the capital of Azerbaijan.
Okay.
So,
right.
yeah.
Nice. That's a cool building.
Yeah.
Go Azerbaijan. And now we will move on to the third and final of our roll and write reviews. This is Welcome to, arguably not a roll and write. It was released in 2018, designed by Benoit Turpin. Artist is Anne Heidsieck, and published by Blue Cocker Games, and brought to the United States by Deepwater Games. It plays 1 to 100 players and takes 25 minutes. Zach, do you have a rules rundown for us?
Yes, I do. And Welcome to, you are trying to build the best subdivision. That's right, there's a fucking theme.
Oh my God.
Each round, 3 cards are flipped, showing a number between 1 and 15, and an action that's attached to the number, like adding fences, pools, parks, investing in the market, whatever that thing is called, and getting temp workers to modify that number. There are 3 public objectives for people to earn, with extra points going to the first person to achieve them. And when you fill in your rows, they all have to be in an ascending order. Whoever fills up all of their spots, claims 3 objectives, or passes 3 times, ends the game, and whoever has the most points at the end wins.
Yes. Let's just jump right into the initial thoughts. I will start since I played this one first. My initial thoughts, basically, I went to Origins to work for Deepwater Games. I saw that Welcome to, just ahead of Origins, rocketed to the top of the hotness list. I got there at midnight, got food, got to my hotel room at 1 a.m., and they went, hey, you're volunteering. Here's your free copy of Welcome to. I pulled it open, started unwrapping things, reading through the rules, and they were like, you don't need to read the rules. We can all teach you. And we played a game, 2 a.m. I had no idea what to expect. I'd never, I'd played some roll and writes in the past, and they said, oh, it's roll and write-esque, but roll and write isn't really a genre I'm super familiar with. They did a good job explaining the basic rules, but yeah, I don't know. I was, without getting too much into that, I was interested. I'd heard it anything that rockets to the top of the hot list immediately kind of flips a little switch in my brain where it's is this something I should care about, or is it bullshit? Because there's a lot of bullshit that gets up there.
It's 50-50.
But I I was definitely immediately interested. And it was a small box and just decks of cards. I liked the retro, like 50s art. So I was really interested. I was looking forward to
This
getting
actually
into
does have art on it. So
it. It does actually also has
Post-war
art.
subdivisions.
yeah,
Zach, how about you?
it was popular on the BGG highlight, and then Adrian was like, "Oh man, this fucking game." So I was like, "Okay, I will try it out."
Right on. Andrew.
I'd heard you talking about it for a couple weeks, I think, at the point when later that evening at Rack House, I played it for the first time.
So really, this was just the Rack House. These games are the Rack House for you.
Yep. That indelibly linked to that night, that memorable night.
Balmy.
Yes.
Wiping your glasses to get all the steam off.
Jeff, how about you?
It was hot.
It was so hot.
No, the game, not Rack House.
Oh, yes. Adrian had been spouting his bullshit, as he does about games. And I had not played a roll and write before, and this would be my first. I think I played it with like 7 people at the time
That sounds about right.
for the first time playing, and was learning how to flip and fill.
Yes. All right. So components for this game is a pad of score sheets,
What?
just like all of the others.
Yep.
What?
But instead of dice, it's a big deck of cards.
Yep, because it follows a bell curve for 1 to 15.
Yes.
So 8's your most common. Shows up what, 7 9 times?
9 8s.
Okay.
And 1, 2, 14, and 15 are the far ends. There are 3 each of those.
Almost like a 2 7.5 sided dice.
Yes. Yes.
That's how you would get that bell curve with dice.
Two 7 and
I
a
feel
half.
like if you roll a 7.5, that's gonna fuck you up.
well, but it's weird. Well, it's almost, it'd be more like, because it'd be a 0.5 to a 7.5, which I feel
Right.
like would be
Yes.
an 8-sided die.
Yeah.
Just with the numbers shifted from 2 to 16 down to 1 to
Yep.
15.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 2 8-sided die distribution.
Minus
Yes.
1.
Sure.
No,
yeah.
you just take your two d8s.
2
subtract
d8s minus 1.
Yep.
It's also not perfect because 1 and 2 are the same and 14 and 15 are the same, but it's
Yes.
roughly that.
Yeah.
And each of the cards are double-sided. So the one side shows the numbers on that bell curve. The other side is a split of the 6 possible actions that Zach mentioned earlier. They range from 9 to 18 of the action. There's 3 actions with 9, 3 actions with 18, and adds up to like 92 cards, I want to say. Enough cards you can divide them evenly into 3 piles.
So not 92.
So not 92. 82. 82 is...
Nope, not
81.
82.
81. There you
Okay.
go. I bet it's 81. I don't remember exactly. I am not good at math on the fly.
There's no full components list on the website.
Not just on the fly.
Also true. So we're components still.
Yes.
Markers.
They don't come with markers.
Oh, shit.
They actually, and this is one knock on this game, they don't come with any writing utensil, period.
God damn it.
They come with
Okay.
the pad of paper and the cards. And so there's the deck of the actual like cards you play with, and then there's a surprisingly big deck of objectives.
Yeah.
And they're divided. There's a stack of objective 1, stack of objective 2, stack of objective 3.
29 city plan cards. Is that right?
Which are the objective cards.
Yeah.
29
Yes.
objective cards. Divided.
I'm just
roughly.
saying what the actual component is.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many of the number cards are there?
There are 81 construction
81.
cards.
Okay.
I actually put the like dimensions on here, like 58 by 88 millimeters.
In millimeters.
Well, in case you want to sleeve it,
Sleeve it.
which this game sees a lot of play.
Yeah, I can understand why you would want to sleeve the.
But you do need clear sleeves.
Yes.
Very much so.
But also, it doesn't matter if these cards get nicked up because they show on the number side in the corner, it's peeled back and it shows what the action is on the back side. So it's not like you're gaining any extra information if the card's damaged.
Right.
Like, that ripped card has a pool on the back. It also clearly shows on the front that it has a pool on the back.
Unless you accidentally rip off the corner where it tells you that information.
Yes.
Yeah. So, not really. And you're not way overhandling these cards.
Right.
No, you're flipping them.
Yeah. You're shuffling the big deck at the start, dividing it into 3 piles, and then just flipping them over. And then the objective cards you're handling even less. At the start of the game, you're picking 1 from each of the 3 subsections and putting them out there. This one actually has art. As I mentioned, I really like the 50s Americana vibe of the art style of this one. As you build your little ideal subdivision with your 2.5 kids.
To go with the 0.5 sided dice.
Yes, exactly.
The art itself, like the actual subdivision art part, I'm like, yeah, it looks all right. It doesn't, but I like the fact that I get to name my own subdivision each time.
Which is, there was a thread I saw on the board game subreddit earlier that was, what is your favorite like flavor text thing when explaining a game? And I always, when I teach Welcome To, it really started right before I went to Michigan, and then I embraced it in Michigan, and it was a huge success. I always tell people like, all right, we're going to play this game. It's Welcome To, and everybody always says, welcome to what?
Yep.
So I always say the first rule of this game and the most important part of this game is you have to name your subdivision. Like, you have to name your little
Now
area.
you're invested.
Yeah.
And then I still never name mine. And then I wait and see how long into the game until somebody goes, yours isn't even named. Because I've played
You
this game
hypocrite.
so many times that I am running out of ideas. I am not a creative person. So
You're not good at math. You're not creative. What the hell is the point? What are you doing here?
I can maybe make a podcast happen for 2 years and a couple months.
You haven't failed with that yet.
So far, I have not failed at that.
Once we hit that 3-year mark, though,
Yeah.
man,
I feel like it's
Okay,
week to
he's-
week, man. It's been week to
He's
week.
going to be vested, and then he's just going to be fucking out.
divested.
It has been week to week for like 110 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I need a sip of beer after that one. But yeah, there's not a lot for components. There is actually art, and the artist in this one actually earned the title artist.
Yeah.
But let's move on from components. Let's talk rules and rules explanation. I'm not entirely sure, but I think this might be the trickiest one to explain. There is enough going on in this game.
I would agree with
I
that.
think,
Just because I've seen enough people get it wrong.
and it is amazing. Like I know some of my early teaches because I was demoing this game at Origins. I probably demoed it 100 times at Origins over 4 days. Like, I would not be shocked if I pulled 25 a day. That's probably a little excessive, but I demoed it a lot. And then I'd go and just play it after Origins too. I feel like I have my teach for this game like nailed. Like, I have no other teach in all of board gaming.
It's all he's got, man.
It's what
Don't
I've
take it
got.
away from him.
I can teach this game like a champ. But it amazes
If
me.
only somebody would pay you to do that.
Seriously, right? But literally every time I teach it, every time somebody finds a new way to misunderstand what I said.
One of the times we were playing, it was with you
Yeah.
and 2 other people.
At
All
Fiction,
3 of you
yeah.
got 3 things wrong.
Yep.
But it was like, so it wasn't like Adrian taught it bad because you got what they got wrong. You got it right. But you
Yeah.
was just something else. The one that some guy, he got it right, but he got his thing wrong.
It's
He
really
also
like
got
all
the
3 of
mo-
you spaced out at different times in the teach and
He-
just missed.
He did get the worst part wrong.
Yeah. Holy cow.
Did we tell you what it was, Jeff?
I don't believe I've heard this.
Oh,
story.
it was basically he was like, "Oh, you can only use one of these numbers a turn."
Yeah, he had filled in his entire sheet.
I had heard that story.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like my sheet's full.
Yeah, I was like,
What?
You because I remember
like-
I was leading on that one, and he was like, "Oh, I got like 87." I'm like, "You got a lot. Like you on your first game, you won. Good job." And then I looked at his board, and I was like, "You have like 2 spaces left.
Yeah.
I have like 17 spaces left. Something is wrong."
Something is wrong.
Like, it was one that the objectives aligned where it ended early on objectives.
yeah.
And so there was all of us had a ton of space left. He was like,
Except this guy.
It's like mine's full. I don't understand. You guys must suck at this game.
but yeah, so this one routinely has
Cheat welcome to.
little things. Little things that people just get wrong, like, and even things that I try to really like this, because every time I teach, I try to refine. I try to take into like, what do people get wrong? How can I change this teach a little bit? Like, I try to really stress, like, pools are the most restrictive. They have to go with the number.
Yeah.
Parks are next most. They have to go in the row. Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
None of the other actions are tied.
Mhm.
You know, the temp, like, it modifies the number directly. It's plus or minus 0, 1, or 2. Like, and I had to really start stressing the 0 even.
Yes.
Right.
Because people are like, but what if I just want to take the number? I don't get to use the temp. It's like, no, that's actually the best one. That's the example of you would never want to not take that action.
Yeah.
Like, even if you want the number that's there, write the
Yeah.
number, fill in the temp spot.
Yeah.
I don't care.
I've definitely screwed that up.
I'm sure you have.
But then people will come along and they'll be like 3/4 of the way through the game. They're like, I can only write fences where the number is, right? Like, no, I stressed very clearly. You write the
yeah.
number and then you put a fence anywhere else on the board.
Which-
literally anywhere else.
Which is like one of the problems of like, obviously this doesn't have downtime that much because you're all playing simultaneously, but you can't police or watch other people who are learning the game. You can't make sure that they're doing the right thing.
You have to make sure you're winning.
Yeah, obviously that's what counts. And then
when the 9-year-old's like, hey, are you taking it easy on us? No, I'm playing my ass off. You guys are on your own until you clearly fuck up. And then I have to be like, wait, no, you can't do that. And then even sometimes it's like, I see where you made a mistake, but it's going to really fuck everything up to change that.
No, 100%, yeah.
Like,
so that first one game is a learning game, and so, yeah.
But yeah, it is amazing to me, like, how regularly different people miss or misunderstand different parts of this game. But it's really only that first turn. Because, like, once you catch it and you explain that, because it's only ever one thing that they mess up. And then once you explain that one thing, then they're good.
Yes.
Because they have the other 7.
Yeah, because there's not much to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the rules are that hard to explain. The rule book, as I remember, because I was starting to read it before they jumped in and were like, oh, let us teach you. The rule book's not, I don't think, laid out the best. I think if they'd explained the actions in a different order in the rule book, it would have made more sense. I'm torn on that, though. Like, the rule book explains fences really early, like, first, which I could see the value of, but I don't know. I like to use the visual aid of the board to explain actions, and
fences would be last in that almost
towards the end.
Yeah,
I do them right before markets. Like I do everything up to markets, and I go, okay, I told you I'd come back to objectives, and now we're going to talk about fences and objectives, kind of like because fences work for the objectives, and they work for markets. Like this is important to understand markets, and then markets, bis, and then you're done.
Yeah,
but yeah, that's rules and rules explanation. Let's talk about gameplay.
Okay.
A lot of it, I think, was covered in rules.
As per usual with some of these lighter games.
Yeah. So this is similar to Roll to the Top, another game where everybody's working with the exact same information and actions and numbers and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
So in theory, if we all just copied each other, we would all end up with the exact same score at the end. It would all end the exact same way from all of us at the same time, which would be boring. But luckily, these kinds of games, inevitably, somebody does I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, right.
The thing I really like about this versus Roll to the Top is Roll to the Top, usually the only time you see people not using numbers is if they've backed themselves into a weird corner where they just can't. Like you were talking about, Zach, where you've added 4 together to get one number and somebody else is like, oh, I played smarter. I get to use them all 4 individually.
Yeah.
This one, it forces you to make a decision. Do you want to do this one number with this one action, the other number with the other action, or the third with the third action?
Because you have to take a number if you can.
Yes.
You can't pass.
Right.
Because I mentioned earlier, like you pass 3 times, and that's only if you cannot take a number.
If you can, and you don't get to do an action. Your whole turn is a pass.
Yeah.
And you mark on the board, there's a section for those. And if you hit 3 of those, that's one of the end game conditions. That typically doesn't happen until later.
The second one is already, -8 points or something like that?
Yeah, it's the first one it doesn't cost you anything.
Right.
The second one puts you at -5, and then I think the third one puts you at 8.
Okay, and loses ends the game.
And ends the game. You don't typically win if you end the game through that.
No.
Right.
The other 2 main end game conditions, or the not main ones, the only other 2 main end game conditions is if one person gets all 3 objectives, which is another one of those where people tend to mess up. Like sometimes some people think once all 3 objectives are claimed, the game ends. Like I've had the 3rd objective get claimed, like all 3 get claimed in one row, one turn, like the 10th turn. Yeah. And then like, the game's already over? Like, no one has even claimed 2 objectives yet. It's just 7 of us went in different directions.
Yep. But because of the objectives, and depending on which ones you get, it can vary the game length. Because like you said, we had ones, they all just sort of worked towards each other. It ended super early.
Yeah. And whereas sometimes you get objectives where, like, because of the way the cards play and the way you're forced to do numbers, you end up blocking yourself out of an entire objective.
I feel like I saw some combos where they're literally mutually exclusive.
I don't think there's any that are truly mutually exclusive. Okay. No. The worst I've seen is like there's 2 objectives for the middle and bottom row. They're the same objective, just which row is the only difference. And it is get all of the parks and all of the pools in those rows.
Oof.
And there have been times where I've been playing and the only space I have left in a row is a pool, but the number comes up where the only place I can write that number is there and it's not a pool. And it's like, well, just not getting that objective. So
Fuck you.
I'm not ending the game on objectives. I'm just waiting for somebody else to end the game while I do other things and still try to score points. Because
Right.
ending the game is not even remotely indicative of winning. I've regularly seen people end the game and not win.
Yeah.
About the only time it doesn't happen is if somebody really does the 3 objectives. Like that will give you a solid edge if you have all 3 objectives completed. But yeah, like there's tons of different things you can go for because you can ignore the objectives entirely and focus on like the market and scoring a bunch of points by just using the fences and the market to block off little sections of houses and just score a ton of points for them.
Yeah.
You can go really heavy on pools. If you manage to get all 9 pools, there's 9 pool cards in the deck, 9 pool spaces on your board. If you can somehow get all of those to fit together, that's like 36 points in a game where 100 is a really good score.
Yeah.
I remember one game where like halfway through, actually like a quarter of the way through, I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for all parks. I just want all my parks.
Yep.
I'm going to be the park town or the park subdivision and then, whatever. And I ended up winning on that one. And it was due to math error on my part and I think on also your part, Adrian.
I think so.
I tied somebody for the win. And I was like, oh, fuck yes, this is great.
Well, and I really like that you stated very early on that that's what you're doing.
Yeah,
We knew that's what you were going for. And for like the middle third of the game, you were like, this is not going to work.
No.
And then it worked.
And it worked.
I mean, you say middle third up until after the scoring was completed, and then we were like, wait a minute, you made a mistake there.
Yes.
But yeah, like there are legitimate different things you can go for.
But you still want to go for a lot to them.
Oh, you want to try to be. You don't want to be nothing on it.
You can't just be like, if I get pulls, I'm good.
Yes. No. You need to score somewhere on. The only one you could really just say fuck off to is the like temp one because it's only a max of 7 points.
Right.
Yeah.
And that regularly is one where people tie for it.
Unless there's an objective for it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the objective for that one is ridiculous. It's like 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And using 7 temp is hard.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a bunch of different objectives. A good chunk of them revolve around making the housing blocks. So like you're filling in these streets and then you're putting fences to make little subdivisions, or they call them, I think, estates in the rules. But it's just different groups of housing sizes.
A lot of those are for objectives specifically.
Yeah, so an objective might be like 1 group of 1, 2 groups of 2, and a group of 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or like 3 groups of 4.
Or a 6, a 2, and a 1.
Yeah. And
it's in the same row.
No,
anywhere.
anywhere.
And
Yeah.
Usually a lot of people do the same row.
Efficiently, sometimes the same row.
The other big thing is that if you use, so like if you have 1, there's one of them that's like 7 1s. And then there's another one that's like 3 1s and a 4. None of those, like the 7 1s and the 3 1s have to be unique. So to get both of those objectives, you would need 10 1s and a 4.
That's a lot of fences.
That's a lot of fences.
this is the one rule that I made a mistake on my first game is that within the fences, all of the houses have to have numbers.
And that's one that I need to do better about stressing.
Yeah.
And I've tried to really focus on, because that is, I think, one of the most common things that people get wrong is they think like, oh, I've gotten the things blocked off in the right divisions.
Numbers.
And they're like, oh, I'm completing this, because it'll happen crazy early sometimes, like turn 4. Somebody like, oh, I claim objective 1. No, you don't. What are you talking? And they look at the board and they're like,
fuck off.
Okay, so you have the fences in the right spot. You need to fill those in now.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh shit.
Your subdivision is completely empty, but the fences are up.
Yeah.
Well, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Keep the wrong people out.
If you build the fences, they will come. So.
You've got to get the people living there for the points. Or simultaneously, at the end of the game during the market scoring, somebody like, oh, this is a group of 6 houses. Like, no, that's a group of 5 houses and 1 empty lot.
Which
that
doesn't count for anything.
Or it's a group of 6 houses, but with no fence at the end.
Yeah.
So you can't actually...
Oh, or 7 houses that are completed and fenced in, but there's no scoring for 7.
Yeah.
You should have split it, then you'd have a 1 and a 6, and it'd be worth a lot of points. That's I'm sorry.
As you crush all of the people trying to demo the game.
I basically never crush at this game.
Yeah.
People, when I teach people, like I don't tell them what I got initially. Like I just play. I teach the game and I play. And then when people are finished and they're totaling up scores, I'm like, oh, I scored 80. And then somebody's like, oh, I only got 50. It's like, this is your first time, right? My first time, I got 42, which is still one of the lowest scores I've ever seen in that game.
Yeah.
It's really hard to score under 40.
He almost had it.
Yeah. So, like, I lost to a 9-year-old multiple times in Michigan, who was regularly scoring, to be fair, in 80s and 90s, which are good scores.
Yeah.
And then because of the game length too, the shorter ones are going to be
Lower scoring.
Lower scoring. So yeah, if you're like, oh, it's a lot, this is a short one, and you're like, oh, I only got 50, I got 70, and it's like, oh, but I've heard people get 100. It's like, yeah, that was a different game.
That's a game where we ran through all 3 decks, shuffled them, and then went like 5 cards into those decks. Yeah. Whereas this one, we still have like 10 cards left to flip. On my way to the Broncos game on Saturday, Jake from Draft Mechanic was texting me, and he was like, trying to, how does this one action work? And he sent me a picture, but I didn't get it until way later. But I could understand from the context of the text, explained it to him. And he's like, okay, I just finished my first game. I scored 58. It's like, is that good or bad? It's like, well, I scored 42 on my first game. And he's like, what? He's like, what should I get? And I misunderstood him. And I was like, I thought he meant like, what should I get for beating you? It's like a firm pat on the back. He goes, no, I mean, like, what score should I be going for? It's like, oh, yeah. 80 to 100. Like, if you get over 100, you've done very well.
Yeah, I think my first game, I got 103, but
You're an anomaly.
But I also have never gotten that score since.
Yeah, over 100 is rare. It's funny that it comes with like a little checklist in the box of like achievements, and one of them is score 200 points. I don't know how that's possible. I'm not convinced that
solo,
actually,
and you're like, I don't want to score this objective now.
Well, so the solo version's interesting, and that might be the only way to do it. Because solo version, and I think I'm the only one who's played solo, so I'll talk about it real quick.
You're the only one here who has it, so yes.
Fair enough. Solo version, they have a card that's the solo card, and you divide the deck evenly into 2, or as evenly as you can, because it's 81, you can't divide it evenly.
Right.
You stick that card in one of the halves, shuffle it up, put that half on the bottom, put the other half on top, and then you on your turn, then you just every round you draw 3 cards, and you pick one of them to use for the number, one of them to use for the action, and the other one to discard.
Okay.
And you just keep doing that. When you hit that solo player card, all 3 of the objectives flip to their completed side, so you get less for them if you haven't done them yet.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
And then you just play until the deck runs out. You don't ever reshuffle the deck.
Gotcha.
So in theory, I think you get more actions because you're getting out of every 3 cards, you're getting 1 number and 1 action.
Right.
Versus in the normal game, out of every 6 cards, you're getting
every 3. 3 out of every 3 cards, you get 1.
Yeah. Now you're getting 2 out of every 3.
No, you're getting 1 out of every 3. It's just the 2 cards combine into 1 action. 1 number and 1 action combine into 1 action.
So you get the same number.
You get the same number. Well, you get the same number, except you always go exactly 1 deck length, whereas in a multiplayer, you can go to like...
But you have more options, I think, with the 3 cards because of the way you can choose which ones you do that number.
That's true.
You have more flexible options.
You can be more optimal, but it's still 1 action for 3 cards.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Math.
Huzzah. I'm not good at it.
Well established.
That's why we keep an accountant on the staff, why we occasionally bring in a historian, and then there's Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Better at math than Adrian.
Yes.
Probably true. But yeah, I think that's gameplay. I don't think there's really a whole lot else to say there unless you guys have anything else that you want to talk about.
Variants at all? The
only major variant, so they have some of the objectives are marked with an asterisk.
You can pretty much start using at least one of them.
Once someone has played the game and can teach it well, then you can start using those right away. Because there's things like fill an entire row, or like I was saying, the harder one of get all of the pools, all of the parks in one. This is an area, actually, going back to rules and rules explanation very briefly, that I always forget about. The rule book has misprints for the objective cards.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
That's not great.
Like, it shows the exact same card for 2 different definitions, for 2 different objectives. But it's simple enough, like, if you use a little bit of deductive reasoning to figure out the iconography on the objective cards and look at what the other ones say to figure out what each one's telling you to do. But yeah, none of the objectives are really that hard. The trickiest one is the one that includes the additional variant of roundabouts, which is the two little circles that I always tell everybody to cross out when I
ignore,
first teach. Yeah. This is your teaching game. We're not going to play with those. Just cross it out. Ignore it. But basically, the roundabouts, you can just plop down anytime on your turn. You plop them down in a spot, make a little circle to indicate a roundabout, fence it on either side, and then fill in one of your roundabout spots, which are negative points at the end of the game.
But it gives you 2 free fences.
2 free fences, and importantly, it splits your row into 2 separate streets. So you can have 1 to 15 on the left of the roundabout, 1 to 15 on the right of the roundabout. And there's one of the objectives that includes that variant. And that's probably the most complicated objective of the advanced objectives, because it also requires playing with the roundabout advanced.
But it's more of just make sure to include a roundabout.
Yeah. And roundabouts are like, if that one was out, it's like at that point, just start one of your first turns, split one of your rows into a roundabout.
Right.
Like depending on what the other objectives are.
Right.
But roundabouts, most of the time I play with them, people are like not doing them until the very end when it's like,
I need to fill this spot, because you can do them at any time. So you can just be like, oh, this is the last round. Oh, fuck. I'll put it here.
I'll put it here, and now all of a sudden I am able to actually score this as a group of houses.
Yeah.
Or like towards the end of the game, like, oh, I'm on my last like skip. If I put a roundabout here, I can actually write that one to the right of it. Never mind that the thing immediately to the right of that is a 15 because I did my roundabout in the last 3 squares.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, let's do final thoughts. Let's start with you, Zach. Final thoughts on Welcome to.
I like this one as well. I only really want to play, though, if it has some of those more complicated objectives, because if it's just fences, that's boring to me, at least, just because then it's like, you got to focus on fences, where some of the other ones, it's like, oh, focus on, try and get those pools, the parks, and then work on some of those other things. If it's just fences, it feels like you got to prioritize those more over the other things. And I like that this one gives you multiple paths.
Yeah,
like we were saying earlier. I mean, I like, for me, like, it doesn't matter if they're cards versus dice. Like, I'm not like, oh, here's a 3. There's only 2 more coming up. I need to make sure to pay attention for that. It's all about what numbers are coming up now, and then I like that you can see on the whatever number it is, like what symbol's coming up next.
Yeah.
So it's like a 2, but you see the green symbols coming up in a park, and you're like, oh, it's a park. I need a park. I need it to be a 3. And it's a lot of just like, oh, I hope it's this number. And it flips over, and you're like, the fucking 8 again. God damn it. Which it's the most common. And so, like, if you're not thinking about it, you'll be like, oh, this 8 works perfectly here and here. And, oh, now I can't do any more 8s anywhere. And
there's a lot more
8s coming up. So I do like that you have to take a number. I think that's really good, because you are forced to make a suboptimal decision
sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. I like it, but yeah.
I think after playing it a bunch more, I think that your thing about the different objectives, I understand why you feel that way, because I think it does give you the feeling of it being different.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it really affects.
I just don't care about the fences. I understand that. I'd rather go after the objectives. It's like you have to pay attention to
something else
besides like fences and something else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Not just fences.
Yeah. Right on. Andrew, how about you?
I do like the theme in this. I also really like the way that you combine 2 different cards to like give you the number and the action. The number coming from one card and the action coming from another, which gets a lot more randomness. I feel like it's a new and different mechanic that I really enjoy, and it is like, it's the same sort of like puzzle of like where to put your resources that Ganz, Schon, Clever has, but it just feels more interesting, and I don't know. The fact that there is a theme behind it will keep me coming back to it. So yeah, I really like it.
Jeff, how about you?
This is the one I've probably played the least of all of these, but
that will change.
You don't know what his opinion is.
It is enjoyable. It is definitely the meatiest of all of them. I'd like to play it more, but definitely the most complicated to wrap your head around with all of the different areas and rules and things like that, but all reasonably fun for the basic of go from low to high that they have made a game around. And all of the fancy rules and things like that. I don't know. It's got a theme, and you didn't say like any of the actual shit that these cards are. Like surveyor, real estate agent, landscaper, pool manufacturer, temp agency. Like those are the actual like
names of the cards.
names of the cards and abilities that you're using and stuff like that. They've actually put in some fucking effort into this game.
Fair enough. But I feel like it's one of those ones, especially because it's not printed on the card at all, that you aren't going, oh, it's a pool manufacturer. You're like, oh, it's a pool.
Well, and especially because like I had barely started to read through the rules before somebody's like, oh, let me teach you this game. And I'm pretty sure the terms they used are the terms I've adopted. Like, it's a pool, it's a temp, it's a
Which
market.
is fine, but they've actually put forth effort.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Which
only one
is
that I've seen no explanation for what the fuck BIS stands for.
no, correct. That's what I was in here looking at.
I think it's a French thing. Because the Blue Cocker is a French board game company. The designer is French. I'm pretty sure BIS is something. Because the BIS action, we haven't talked about it at all, really.
It's because we almost never use it.
It's the exception to letting you do the same number twice. Basically making like an apartment complex. Like, 13A, 13B, 13C.
But you get minus points for taking
But it is negative, so it's not always ideal. But I think BIS must somehow be tied into French for like apartments.
it's
if we did APT here.
Yeah, maybe. It's just a mailbox, so
It's basically the French meaning encore. So get to do it again.
There you go.
All right.
Why don't they? I don't know why they don't use encore, which is a French word, but
I don't know either.
Yeah. But I like that there's objectives in the game. There's plenty of different, like, this is definitely the game that you see immediately split off into everyone doing their own shit.
Yes.
Because there are a lot of really cool options you can do to what you think will be most efficient. It's a good ass roll and write.
Flippinville.
Yep.
flip and fill is a subcategory of roll and write.
Yeah. Right on. Well, unsurprisingly to anybody who's listened to the podcast for the last like 3 weeks, except for last week where I wasn't on at all, but since anything post Origins that I've been on, I really like Welcome to. This has been my favorite of this kind of roll and write type thing. Unlike Roll to the Top that I enjoy because it is just silly and light enough that I don't care. This one I do care. I do try to win.
You just don't.
I just don't, especially against 9-year-olds. But it's an optimization puzzle, and that is something I really like in basically all of my board games. That's why I like very low randomness. I like everybody can do the exact same thing. Food chain, if we all take the same action, we'll get the same result. Welcome to, we all take the same action, we'll get the same result. That really appeals to me. I like that optimization puzzle. I like the theme of this one. I like that 50s Americana art style. It's not the most beautiful art. Like, it's not like I'm raving about this game from an art perspective, but I like it. It looks nice playing it. It's subtle. It's not something that jumps out at you as like, this is great, but it's there. It's nice. Same thing with the theme. The theme's not like overbearing, but it's there. There's something to relate and explain actions of how you're doing things that lends to both teaching it and playing it. It's got enough. You said randomness in the card and action things, Andrew. I say variability. No game has felt the same. Even when even games where I've played the exact same objectives, they've played out different, both from my decisions and other people's decisions, and just the end score. It feels different every time I play while still being similar, and I really appreciate that. And then I will always take a fixed distribution in a deck of cards over a rough distribution of a set of dice, especially since most roll and writes, aren't using dice in a way that gives you a fixed distribution. At least not one that's as easily done as a bell curve of the cards in this game, or like the bell curve of 2d6 on a craps table. Yeah, I like the fixed distribution of the cards. And I like the game. It's a good game. I enjoyed it a whole lot. So that's my final thoughts for Welcome to. Let's do a quick round. Our thoughts on all three of them together and kind of comparing them. So, Jeff, let's start with you. What are your thoughts as far as a comparison between all three of these games?
I like roll and writes now.
I do remember after you played Welcome to the first time, you're like, I think I like roll and writes.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I've discovered that there are different kinds of roll and writes. I have crushed everyone at Yahtzee.
It turns out getting one Yahtzee in a game of Yahtzee.
Yeah.
Getting your second one, which is the bonus Yahtzee worth 100 points. That basically just, you have won.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can stop playing right now. Because Jeff and I both got Yahtzees. Jeff got 2 Yahtzees.
Zach got no Yahtzees.
No.
Is getting Yahtzees how you win in the game of Yahtzee?
Correct.
Okay.
It's a key component.
Especially when you just get it on your first roll.
Yeah. He was just like, And 5 5s. Yahtzee, done.
This is an easy game.
Later in the game, 5 ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Things are better than Yahtzee. Just remember that. You can have some pretty... Comparing the 3, I like them all. I don't know if I would like one more than any others. I love them all. They're all enjoyable games. It's like...
So maybe like what do you like about each of them? Like what makes each of them stand like because I assume they're different enough. You like different things about different ones.
Yeah, you have the most to do in Welcome to. You have very interesting combo decisions to make in Very Clever. No.
Pretty Clever.
Pretty Clever. And then the sort of competition between dice and racing to the top in Roll to the Top is very interesting. So they all kind of have their really cool key mechanic that I enjoy.
And they're all different ones, too.
And they're all different. And the downtime in Pretty Clever is probably makes it the worst out of it. But I've also played that app like 40 times in like 2 days. So yeah, the game is also pretty good too.
Cool. Andrew, how about you?
So I think I would say I'll start with Ganz, Schon, Clever. That it's popcorn. It's quick. It's like fairly easy. The games are all kind of the same. I can go through them like you were just saying, 40 in 2 days, or basically that for an entire week. But at the end, I'm like, I haven't had any actual flavor. Like I haven't actually, I'm not full. I think that that Roll to the Top was even less than that for me. Roll to the Top was like, yeah,
it's cotton candy. It's
It's
made of
sugar rush and then just disappointment.
Yeah.
right, and a bad aftertaste. So, Welcome to is actually like a meaty, interesting puzzle. I do wish that it had some interactivity. I wish that all of these games had more interactivity with them. That was my original complaint about the Settlers of Catan dice game. But like, I don't think Ganz, Schon, Clever, like it has interactivity, but it's not great interactivity. And the same is kind of true of Roll to the Top. It has, like, with the dice manipulation and choosing which dice to use, it has it, but it's not great. Welcome to doesn't even have that.
No.
Like,
that's why it's 1 to 100 to 1,000 if you really want to, because everyone could just play at the same time. And
Right.
it's who did it best.
Yeah, totally. I would be interested if you do a full game of 100 people online. If take a heck of a long time to compare afterwards to see if any two people actually got the exact same drawing. That would actually be kind of interesting, but it would take a long time. And
Yeah. I mean, it basically, if you could probably do it pretty easily, because if you did it, you'd do it on like
find the people that have the same scores
exactly, and then have them compare.
Yeah, fair enough. But yeah, no, it is at least the most interesting puzzle and the most interesting theme, the only theme. But it's but it's still a good theme. It's not just like, oh, thank God there's something. It's actually like it's a pretty good urban planning.
Yeah.
As far as those go. So yeah, I would definitely play Welcome to play it again frequently from now on. There are times when I would go back to Ganz, Schon, Clever and let me kill a little bit of time playing this on the app or whatever. And I don't know if there's not much else to do. I could be convinced to play Roll to the Top again, but I'd choose a lot of other games over that. So
right on. For myself, these fell into 3 distinct tiers. There's Ganz, which is take it or leave it. The app might redeem it for me. Playing it quick games by myself, where it's at that point almost an optimization puzzle again of just, can I beat my previous scores? Can I get my high score? Playing it with 2 maybe, because I think it'd be a little bit more even in a 2-player game. I think that 3 or 4, the randomness of like, how good did you roll the dice this turn, starts to really outweigh my enjoyment of the game. Even with like rerolls and things that the game lets you do to get new dice or manipulate your dice a little bit, it's just not quite enough. I've seen people just get clearly, objectively better rolls where like, this has exactly the number I need. Or even like Zach's, thing of convincing Jeff to do the thing that was best for Jeff that scored Zach 87 points, which some of that was Zach, setting up a potential thing that might not have come through.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%.
It was a gamble.
Yes.
But then the fact that gamble paid off.
Well, and the fact that the gamble paid off on somebody else's turn.
Yes.
That was luck. I will 100% say that was luck. Whereas yours, it was on your turn, so you had a lot more control on it. Mine was just, I fucking hope I see an 8. Oh, there's an 8. Let me just tell Jeff, I need you to keep that. Please keep that.
Do this thing for me.
Yeah.
So that's not something that I, as anybody who listens to this podcast knows, I don't super like that kind of randomness.
Mm-hmm.
I like more fixed things that are even, at least across players. For Roll to the Top, it's light, it's silly. I still like the optimization puzzle. I like the idea that we all have access to the same things at all the same times. And so if somebody beats me, then they just played it slightly better, and I like kind of that at the end of the game comparing even like where did you write your first of this number? Oh, you wrote it over here. Well, I can clearly I remember a 12 came up and I know we all 4 wrote 12s. Where did we all write our 12s? Oh, you wrote yours there. I wrote mine here. You wrote yours there. Oh, I see where that worked out for you and that worked out bad for me. And that worked out like mediocre for somebody else. I like kind of that comparing and contrasting. I like the different maps in it. I think that adds some much needed variability, and I would not be interested in it if it wasn't for all the different maps and how they play different and give you a slightly different puzzle. Welcome to is probably already my most played game of 2018. I absolutely love it. It is, I think, easy enough to teach. It's a longer teach than either of the other two. A little bit more involved teach, but I think it's an easy enough teach. People seem to get it, if not immediately before they start their first game. By the end of the first game, they understand it, and then you can immediately roll into another game. And once people have played, the game goes really quick. It plays really smooth. It's another optimization puzzle. It doesn't bother me that there's not interactivity, because again, I like the puzzle. Like, where did you do things different? I like how early in the game, 3 or 4 people will be like, "Oh, you're copying me. You're copying me," because we all currently we've picked the same 4 things and put them in the exact same spots. And then that 5th card comes out, and all of a sudden we all go in all 4 of us go in slightly different directions, and then it just branches from there. And then at the end of the game, your boards are completely different and things are completely different, and it feels different every time I play. Every time I play, like I mentioned during the review itself of it, even playing with the exact same objectives, the game feels different enough to keep me coming back. And they gave so many objectives. There's so many different combinations of objectives, so many different ways to play. I think they did a fantastic job with that game. It is easily my favorite of the entire genre of roll and write. So, Zach, how about you?
I think
Just so everyone knows, I played an entire game of Ganz on my iPad while Adrian was just doing his quick thoughts.
Oh, I'd buy that 100%.
Not a very good game.
How'd you do?
I got a 145.
Oh, that is.
I wasn't being very
efficient.
efficient.
So for me, I would say I like all of these, but and I would play them all again, but I would probably rank them Ganz, Roll to the Top, and then Welcome to.
That surprises me, honestly.
One, Ganz and Roll the Right actually have some interactivity where Welcome to is just an optimization puzzle, which I don't care much about what ifs. It's just more of so I like that I can at least influence in some way what what you are doing or something like that.
You already do that with your words, Zach. You
I know.
don't need the game to do it for you.
Yeah, right. But also, for me, it does. Welcome to does have a theme, but it's not enough of it to stick to me, I guess. And I don't care. I'm fine with the role. If they tried to make some bullshit theme with Ganz, or
right,
they'd be like, "Oh, this seems tacked on." If I would I don't know. So the fact that those don't have a theme doesn't bother me at all. And also, Ganz has the app. But honestly, I would say sort of the final nail in the coffin is when you told me that it didn't come with any pencils. The fact that you can't play the game out of the box without having to introduce something else into it. I was like, if you heard me rail on that in the 18XX game, whichever one it was.
Which I don't think was even true.
I get that, but this is true. It doesn't come with... You can't play the game without adding something into the game.
No sharpened pencils.
Yeah. That's
3 words.
Sort of bullshit for me. So that... I was trying to figure out where I was going to put... Well, because, I think it's a better game than roll roll to the top because it's just an activity. But I was like, I don't know about that now. That's pretty. It may be a stupid clarification or whatever,
Criterion.
but criteria. But I think it's valid.
Okay. I think that wraps up the episode. If you are interested in any of these 3 games, they are all solidly available
In various languages.
in various languages. So, Clever is going to be available shortly from Stronghold.
You might be able to buy it on Amazon.de soon, but if
Or
not,
.uk.
or-
That's where I got the
Oh, okay.
mind.
Yeah.
well, I think it was only selling in Germany for right now.
This looks like I can't recognize all of these flags, but I can recognize the denominations of currency. It is available on DE eBay for 19 euro. It is available on eBay Australia for 46 Australian,
Don't
and is
know.
available on Canadian eBay for 46 Canadian.
Yeah,
So
or just
Yeah.
until it becomes available.
yeah,
Print it.
It'll be around or print it.
Yeah.
But it will be coming, especially to the States soon.
Did you have to pay for the file?
No, it's on Board Game Geek. It's
Okay.
it's right. Yeah.
Roll to the Top is a little bit trickier to find, shockingly. I
mean, I feel like Paul just got his Kickstarter.
so he kickstarted.
I
it.
believe so. Yeah.
Okay, well then that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So it'll be coming out at some point soon.
Yes,
I would agree. I would assume.
because if you go to the Kickstarter, they have a buy button, but it just reroutes you to the Kickstarter. I think, no, their latest update, or no, not their latest, but one of their updates about buying it later, but it doesn't seem to really explain how to buy it. You can just PayPal the creator.
That seems sketch.
Just send me money. You'll get it.
It says pay, do not include the delivery cost. Right at the payment, it is for RTTT base game and or RTTT specials pack 2 within the Euro currency zone IBAN. A whole bunch of shit. Write your address at the payment to rest of the world. Go to paypal.me/Sawali. Your delivery address I will see there automatically. So maybe it'll be around.
Yeah, maybe we'll see.
Welcome to, however, is in stock on Amazon for about $26, eBay for $3, and on the way for everywhere else for right around $18. So, plenty of options to get Welcome to here shortly coming. It officially released at Gen Con, which was just last weekend, so it's still just getting out there.
Yeah.
Timely reviews.
Indeed. We're on top of shit.
Yeah. Jesus.
But yeah, that wraps up this episode of Rollin' Rights, comparing and contrasting them. If you have any thoughts on this, jump over to the Board Game Geek Guild, where there is already one comment.
Yes,
And Zach, do you have that one pulled up?
I do. This is from Anthony. Welcome to is the only roll and write I've ever played. I demoed it at Origins and pre-ordered it as soon as I got back to the hotel. We pulled it out last weekend for game night. There are only 3 of us, but everyone loved it. We were only going to play once to see how everyone liked it, but we had to play a second time. It's an interesting genre, way more complex than it looked on the surface. I don't feel like I need to get more roll and writes into my collection, but this one will definitely get its share of plays. If anyone's wondering, I came in dead last both games, not even close. And Blood Rage 2 to close out the night. Keep up the great work, Anthony.
The classic roll and write Blood Rage.
Yes.
Yes. Roll Blood Rage the dice game? Future roll and write?
There you go.
It's murder squares.
Yeah, Murder
Murder Squares.
You got some Ragnarok squares in there.
CMON Murder Squares.
Rolls of Thunder?
That's about NASCAR.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But if you want to be like Anthony, you can jump over to that thread and leave your thoughts on these 3 roll and writes, or additionally, any other roll and writes you think we should cover for a future edition. This turns out there's a lot of roll and writes.
Yeah.
And so this would be an easy one for us to do another compare and contrast some roll and writes.
Yes.
So feel free to jump over to that Board Game Geek Guild thread. Like I said, we're in guild number 2731, the Mile High Game Guys Guild. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram /Mile High Game Guys. We tweet under @MHGameGuys.
I am Zach_MHGG.
I am Jeff_MHGG.
And the hater hates tweets. So
True story.
Me too.
Jeff is all about retweets. They're subtly different than actual tweets.
It's true.
What
Or just not using it at all.
What about pre-tweets?
Mm.
I believe that's eggs.
Yes.
Oh, you can always email us.
Emails at milehighgameguys.com.
And if you want to support the show, you can jump over to patreon.com/milehighgameguys to support us financially. Or you can always just rate and review us on your podcast app device thing of choice. Always good stuff. So thanks everybody for tuning in. As always, I have been your host, Adrian.
I am still Zach.
And I'm filled up, Jeff.
And thanks for joining us, Andrew.
Thanks.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Bye.
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 A quick aside, have you guys heard, I forget who it was, but somebody, when people were talking about roll and write games,
Oh, yeah.
that they basically mistook it as Roland Wright. Like he was this designer that was making all these games, and they're like, who is he? And they're
He's everywhere.
Yeah, and so somebody is actually making a game called Roland Wright. That's about
You will buy it. Yes.
Punchboard Media,
where we all
bring something
to the table.
pull up a chair
At punchboardmedia.com.